estate planning and legal documents and talking and thinking about our own mortality, those things can be rather daunting, and a lot of people find things that they would rather do than talk about those things. It kind of drums up issues of family dynamics and maybe your child that's not thriving the way you want them to thrive, or just all sorts of family issues. So that's bad enough. Then you add the complexity of the legal documents and just not knowing what direction to go with estate planning, how to get started, really. So I think of it as a brick wall. I hope to tear that brick wall down if any of you feel the same way. So by the time you leave here today, you've got a lot more clarity about the process. And I want to start by examining what an estate is. You all have one. I have one. It's everything you own in the context of estate planning. And your estate is everything you own, everything that you've acquired and worked so hard to build up and to protect for your family. It's what you own at the time that you pass away. All of that stuff is going to make up your estate. As we sit here today, and every days of our lives, there are assets that are in the forefront of our consciousness. We interact with them all the time. So when you go in to prepare your estate plan, you're going to know you need to have a plan to protect those items. Of course, it's going to be your home. That's an easy one. Your IRAs and 401ks. Jewelry, everyone knows they need to be able to give their jewelry to their granddaughter or whoever. Your vehicles, artwork, these are the easy things to plan for or to think about planning for. However, there are things that live sort of in the edge of our consciousness that we really don't think about very often, and we certainly don't think about them in the context of planning for the transition of our assets. So I want to get the wheels turning and have you start examining in your own mind what things you need to be careful to look for and make sure you plan for them. For example, you might have a home or an interest in real estate in another state or another country that you need to be aware of and have a plan for to transition when you no longer need that item. I've met several clients here at the lake who have written children's books, and they might have a copyright on that child's book that someday could bring them a return, and they need to have a plan for transitioning that copyright or that trademark or that patent onto their loved ones. A lot of people have timeshares that they don't use. And this happened in my own family. My husband's grandfather had a timeshare, and when he died, it was the only thing that never made it into the trust and didn't have a plan for transitioning. And while he had a good trust in place, that single timeshare tied his estate up in court for 2.5 years. And there was that kind of a delay just to get everything wrapped up. A lot of people here at the lake live in condo associations or homeowners associations. And with that comes a beautiful community dock. And sometimes you're lucky enough to have your own dock slip that maybe you don't exactly own. You have, an indefinite right to use, but oftentimes those are provided to you under a lease agreement of some kind. And that's a dock slip that's good to pass along with your condo or with your home. So believe it or not, you got to make a separate plan for that rented dock slip with your estate plan. It doesn't just pull through on its own along with your condo. I have a lot of clients that have oil and gas and mineral rights in other states, Oklahoma, for example, that have been in the family for generations, and it just keeps getting passed down from one generation to the other. So if you have anything like that, just kind of be aware of that. Passwords, pictures, all those things, they don't have to have a monetary value to be worth transitioning to the next generation, but you certainly have to have a plan for getting them transitioned. Cryptocurrency, not many probably of us in this room have that in our portfolio yet, but it's becoming more popular. It's digital. You'll never hold it in your hand, and you may not think when you're doing an estate plan that if you have any money invested in that, you need to have a conversation with your attorney about protecting it during the transition. All right, so that's kind of the estate side of estate plan. Now let's talk about the plan side of the phrase estate plan. And it's as simple as the word is. It's just the way that we're going to transition our assets from us individually to the next person or entity. One of the things that makes estate planning so daunting is when you sit down to do your estate planning, you sit down to put a plan in place for something that's going to happen on a date, hopefully that's far, far, far in the future, that we cannot predict. We don't know what the tax laws are going to be at that time. We don't know who our family members are going to be at that time. We will have lost some and gained some. We won't know what the dynamics are. And we really won't know what our assets are because those change often throughout life. So the challenge is, how do you put a plan in place for all those unknown circumstances? Well, the answer is you do the best you can with what you know right now. You look closely and deeply at your family dynamics, at your assets, at the tax laws, and all those things that go into picking the right plan for you. And you plan it on today's circumstances with, maybe a slight prediction for the very near future. But the key there for your plan is that over time, as your life changes, as the laws change, so too should your estate plan. At least do a checkup and review to make sure that the plan you put in place today still works for you 20 years from now.